everyone, happy Monday. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I am looking for a die that I'm going to need on the projects I'm going to make tonight, and of course I can't find it, and I literally just had it. So hopefully it shows up as I get going here, and if not, I'm gonna have to improvise. I hope you're all having a wonderful start to the week. It is crazy hot in many places here in Ontario and in Canada, for those of you that are maybe outside of the country. Here in Ontario, we had humidexes into the 40s on the west coast. I have a friend out in BC, and it's in the 40 degrees Celsius before the humidex, and then when you add that in, it's up well into the 50s, and she's in a high-rise condo, so there's no air conditioning. So needless to say, she's been taking advantage of some of the heat relief stations that the city has established. But it's crazy, so I hope you're all staying cool. I wasn't sure if I was going to get on tonight, as we've been having some like flickering lights and things probably for the past month or so, and we just assumed that there's construction going on in the neighborhood, that was part of it. But my husband decided to check some of the amperage and the voltage today, and we are below the benchmark, so we've had to call hydro and get them out, and it's a hot mess. So if I cut off at any point during the live, it's because hydro's cut my power to do their tests. So hopefully we get through this and we're not interrupted too much. So if you are just joining me, if you've never joined one of my lives before, welcome. My name is Stephanie Nash. I am the owner of Inspire Me and a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Mount Hope, Ontario, Canada, which for all intents and purposes is the Hamilton area. I have been a demonstrator for the last 10 years, and my passion is sharing my love of paper crafting with all of you. And so that's why I do these lives. I go live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I have two projects for you tonight. So I'm gonna flip my camera around and we're gonna get started. All right, so hopefully you can see my workspace here. I'm going to show you the stamp set we're using. So we are using this stamp set here tonight. This is called Sailing Home. It is not a new stamp set. It is in the annual catalog though. And I thought I would use this one again as it's fun and it's summery, and it's a great masculine stamp set as well, but it doesn't have to be just for men. I know lots of women who are into sailing and nautical themes, so I thought it would be a good one to play with tonight. So let's go ahead and show you our first card. So this is our first one, and so we're going to use a couple of stamps. We're going to use the beautiful lighthouse, we're going to use the compass, and then we're going to use the thanks on this particular set card. My colors are Night of Navy and Smoky Slate. So I'm going to pull all of these in. And like I said, hopefully my die will show up. I don't need it till the next card. All right, so I'm just going to put this to the side here. My base, as usual, is 8.5 by 5.5. This is what is known as an A2 or a quarter fold card size. It's pretty standard, and they fit in your regular invitation size envelopes. So of course, Stampin' Up! Does sell envelopes, which I highly recommend. The quality is phenomenal. But you can buy invitation size envelopes at your local business supply center like a Staples. So the next piece of cardstock that I have is Smoky Slate, and this piece measures 4 inches by 5.25. And the reason for that is it creates a perfect 1/8 of an inch border around the cardstock. But we're going to stamp on this, so I'm not going to attach it just yet. Hi Sonia, hi Pat, hi Debbie, thanks for joining. Don't forget to share the video. So when you share my video, if you're joining us, I do enter your name into a draw to win the projects we're going to make tonight. And last week, I don't think I've mailed them out yet. Give me 1 sec. Last week was Cora who won the projects. So what I'm doing is I'm inking up the compass stamp in the Night of Navy, and I'm just going to create my own designer series paper or background by stamping randomly all over my piece of smoky slate. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Pat. So you're just going to randomly stamp. There's no right or wrong here. You just want to fill in that space. So there's our background. I'm going to put that to the side. So that's going to get attached right to our card base using our Stampin' seal. And with our seal, you don't need a lot. It goes a long way. And we're just going to apply that right on there. And I like to flip my card over and give it a rub, and that way, if the ink is still wet at all, it's not going to smear. So there is the first step on our card. So the next thing I want to do is stamp our lighthouse, and that's going to be stamped in smoky slate. And this piece of basic white that we're stamping on is 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. So it fits the lighthouse perfectly. So I'm going to ink that up in the smoky slate. And we're going to stamp that right in the center of that piece of paper. So there's our image. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull in our water painter brush, and I don't have a ton of water in there, so I don't know if you can see it. But these are our watercolor brushes. So I'm going to close up my ink because I know I'm going to stick my hand in it. And I just want to make it look a little bit weathered, like it would be from the salt and the water of the ocean. So I'm going to use my water painter brush just to pick up a little bit of the navy off my ink pad. And then I'm just going to color ever so lightly down the sides here, just to give the lighthouse a pop of color, but also I want it to have that washed out look, like I said, so it looks like it's been weathered by the salt water and the ocean. And what I love about the water painter brush is you can actually control how dark your color is simply with your flow of water. So you can see just adding more or less water will control your color. Now normally I would have a paper towel, not using my scrap paper, but for tonight we're just going to use the scrap paper. So there's our lighthouse. It's got that nice kind of distressed weathered look. And so I'm going to attach that to a piece of Night of Navy, and this is 2 1/2 by 3 3/4. So again, creating that 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So we're going to attach that directly. Now the cardstock might be a little bit wet, so if you've used too much water, what I would recommend is letting your piece dry before attaching it. And again, I'm going to flip, give it a good rub. I'm going to pull our base in, and we're going to attach that to our card base using Stampin' Dimensionals. If you've not used dimensionals before, they're just double-sided pieces of foam that give the element in question a pop off the background to create dimension, hence their name. So I'm going to peel them off the back here. And then just peel off the back to reveal the adhesive on the other side. We're going to center that right in the center of our base. And then I'm going to pull in just a scrap of basic white. There's no particular measurement here. I'm going to ink up the thanks from the stamp set, and I've stamped it off once. And then I'm going to stamp it in the center of the white. Hi, Cora. And then I'm going to cut out a circle using our layering circles dies. So this is the pack of dies here. You can see it's quite comprehensive. It's got lots of different sizes, both solid and scalloped. And the thing to remember is that these two sets of circles, the solids and the scallops, coordinate, and then these two coordinate. So I'm using the smallest for each. So I'm going to cut out my sentiment with the solid circle, and then the Night of Navy is going to be my scalloped, and I'm going to do that using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which if you can see my image in the corner, you'll notice it's just to the side here. So I'm going to just pop over to cut that out and show you what that looks like when it's done. So here are our cutouts. So there's my navy, and then there's my greeting. Super easy and fast, and just adds a little something extra to your projects. And of course, we're going to use our seal to attach our greeting to our scallop, like so. And then again, we're going to use dimensionals here, but because the lighthouse is already popped up off the base and I want this to overlap, it needs to be supported. So I want to pop the thanks up even more to make it really stand out. So I'm going to put one dimensional on the piece that's going to be attached to the lighthouse piece, but then I need to build up the other two. So how I do that is I put on my dimensionals on those sides, peel off the backs, and then I'm going to stick another dimensional on each of those pieces, creating a stack that's going to give it the support it needs. Peel off our backs, and then we're going to attach that to our card, and now it's fully supported. You can see it's popped up there. There's no wobbles, no misalignment, everything works perfectly. And then of course we want to make the center bright so that we can write in our card, and I didn't pre-cut my paper, so let me cut this. So I'm just using a piece of basic white. I'm going to cut it to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So the folded card size is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So again, just taking that 1/4 inch off. We've got our little bit of adhesive, and it should leave you that nice border. And now you can send your card, be able to have your greeting read, and if you really wanted to, you could stamp that compass on the inside of the card so it ties it all together. So that's project number 1. What do you think? Super simple, not a lot of work, and I just love how the wash on the lighthouse makes it seem weathered. It's been a long time since I've been on the East Coast, but it was one of the favorite things I remember visiting when I was there, was going to the lighthouses and checking them all out. All right, so card number 2, I still haven't found my die. I don't know where it went. So we're gonna have to improvise. Oh, look at that, I found it. It was under my sample. So this is card number 2. And if you are a member of Card Club, this is a little sneak peek because this is one of the cards we're making this month. So it says, "Let hope be your anchor through the storms of life." And I just love this card. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So let me show you how I made that. So we're going to start with a piece of basic black this time. I don't need that navy piece. So this piece, again, 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. We're going to fold it in half to be an A2 or 1/4 fold card size, which is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. I'm using a bone folder to burnish the edge just to give that nice sharp fold. Next I have a piece of real red, and this is 4 by 5 1/4, so the same measurements as our previous card. And we're just going to use our seal once again to attach this to our base. Leaving that nice border all the way around. I just love the black and red together, it just pops. So next we have basic white, and this one is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So it actually has a bigger border all the way around because I wanted that red to really pop. And much like before, we are going to create our own background using the anchor from the stamp set. So we're sticking with the Sailing Home. So this is our chamois. It's just, it almost looks like foam and water, and you can see it's well loved, and it cleans your stamps. So it's great for in between. If you're using the same image and multiple colors, you just give it a wipe and you're good to go. So I'm going to stamp in our Memento Basic Black. And just like before, we're going to randomly stamp all over and because this is an image that has, you know, like a top and a bottom, it's a good idea to rotate it to make it look more random. I am happy with that. So there's our fake DSP. Comes together quick and easy. And again, I'm going to pull in my chamois to clean that anchor because we are going to be using real red ink. And I don't want to put black in my real red. Now, before we attach this piece to our base, I want to show you how I created the twine. So this is basic black baker's twine. It's part of our twine essentials kit. And to get the right length, what I did is fold my twine in half and then wrap it around because it's not a traditional fold I used, or a knot. So that looks a bit right. So I'm just going to give it a trim. And before I attach that, we need to stamp our anchor. So I'm going to pull in my real red ink. I'm going to stamp my anchor image, and I'm just using a scrap of basic white. So there's no measurement here because we are going to cut it out. So it is a shape that you could easily cut with your paper snips, but there is a coordinating die set to go with this stamp set. So I'm going to use the anchor die. And just like before, I'm going to use my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which is behind me, but you can see the die cuts out the image perfectly. And actually, let me lift that up to the camera a little bit better. So you can see how the die lines up perfectly. So it's going to cut out my image. I'm just going to pop over and do that. So there's my die. And there's my anchor. I had to reposition. I was falling off my chair. All right, so let's pull this back in. So what I did to attach the anchor is I created that loop. So now it's wrapped around my card stock, creating that loop. And then I'm going to take one of these ends, the one that's the least frayed, because that die cuts out a little hole in your anchor. So I'm going to stick the least frayed end through the hole, pull it through, pull your twine as tight as you can to your base, and then I'm going to take these two ends and just tie a regular overhand knot using those ends. So they're probably a little bit longer than what I need, but I wanted to make sure I had lots of play. So now you can tie it in a knot or a bow, whichever you prefer. I think a knot works better on this card. And then I'm just going to trim my ends using my snips. So there's my anchor. And now you can attach that to your base, again, just using seal. Is everybody keeping cool? All right, so there is our base. Now, of course, we need a sentiment. So here's our sentiment. And again, it says, let hope be your anchor through the storms of life. And I need a piece of basic white. I think that one might be too small, so let me grab another one. And I am going to stamp in the Memento Black on my scrap here. Lovely. And then I'm going to use this die, which is also from the coordinating die pack, to cut it out. And it does fit perfectly. So I like to stamp and then cut out because I can line up my die around my image. But I'm also going to use this die to cut out a piece of real red and basic black because we're creating that mat around the label. So I'm just going to pop over and do that. What I love about these dies is they would work in the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Mine just happens to be buried at the moment. So there's our label. And then I'm going to cut real red. Not out of that piece. So you can see I have these little bags of scraps. These are our 6x8 cello bags, and this is how I keep all my scraps so that they don't get mixed up. And if there's colors that are similar that happen to retire, I know that I'm not going to mistakenly put the wrong shade on a card and have it look not right and I can't figure out why. So these 6x8 cello bags help with that. All right, and here's my black one being cut. So there's my 3 labels, and I don't know if the camera will show this, maybe on the red, but it has fake stitching around the edges. That's why I really love these dies, is you get that beautiful stitching as well as the shape. So now to create this, all I'm going to do is layer on my labels. So I want my red to be on the top. And so I'm kind of using this intersection here as my guideline. I want the edge of the bubble, I'll call it, to hit that point on the white. And then we're going to use the same sort of guideline on the bottom. So I'm going to put adhesive on my white piece and line that up where I want it, give it a push. And then we're going to do the same thing, but now in the black. And it's going to be lined up on the bottom. So again, using that crevice and the bubble of the white to line it up. Like so. So there's our tag. And then that's going to get attached with dimensionals. If you haven't figured out, I really love these things. I just think they add a little something extra when you are creating your cards. Just giving that piece a little dimension goes a long way. And there we have our second project of the night. What do you think? So 2 cards that come together really easily. You've created your own designer series paper. Thanks, Allison. All right. So the last thing I have for tonight, time is on my side. It's not taking too long, and Hydro hasn't come to work on things, is earlier in the week I shared a box that I was sending out full of some ribbon for some prizes for my bingo event and some team gifts that were going out. And I actually had a lot of people message me saying, how did you create that? So I thought I would make one with you tonight. It's not going to be the same, but it will give you an idea. So the general rule of thumb, you need 2 pieces of cardstock or designer series paper because you can use either. I like to make sure that my base is always cardstock because it's a little bit more supportive. So I'm just going to make a 2" by 2" box. And so when I'm doing that, if I know I want the box to be 2 inches, I need to have at least 2 inches on either side to make the sides. So this is a 6x6 piece of paper. So I'm going to score it. So if you're using our paper trimmer, it's the light gray blade. I'm going to score at 2 inches all the way around. So 2 by 2 by 2. Allison, the tag did look 3D. And it's just because those dimensionals pop it right off the card. It's so awesome. So you're going to end up with something like this. Hopefully the camera's showing you those score lines. So then you need to take your paper snips, and on 2 score lines, so along here, we're going to snip right up to that center score line. Oh, thanks, Allison. And we're going to snip on this side. So we've got these little tails, and then we're going to rotate 180, and we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So just snipping up to that center score line. So you should have flaps there and flaps here. And then you can go ahead and fold along all the score lines. Super easy. And then what I like to do, because we are going to assemble this box and it's going to, the sides are going to come in like this, I like to just trim the flaps a little bit so that they don't peek out. So all I'm doing is taking my paper snips and coming up to that center again. So now we have a little bit, you can see I've trimmed off a little bit. And so I'm going to do that on all 4 flaps. It's not so important on the base, but on your box top, you definitely want to make sure you take a moment to just trim your tabs, and I will show you why when we get to the top. So again, this is basic black. I started with 6x6, scored around all 4 sides at 2 inches. And you can really create any box size you want using the supplies you have. Obviously, if you have 12x12 paper, you can make slightly larger boxes. I'm just going to pull the trimmer out of the way for a moment. So now we can start assembling this bottom piece. Your seal will work. I like to use my Seal Plus or tear and tape when I'm making my boxes, just because it's a little bit sturdier. So this is Seal Plus. So I'm just going to put adhesive along my tab there, and I'm going to pull up my side, line up the score line with the side of the box, and then give it a good push. And then we're going to do the same thing with the next tab. So I'm just going to put a little bit of Seal Plus on there, and then I'm going to put it on the inside, lining up the score line, oops, with the edge, and giving it a rub. And then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So personally, I find it easier to bend the tab the wrong way to put your adhesive on it. And I'm going to do both while they're here. And then you can push them the right way to get them to go in. So lining up with the side, and then our last tab, and then just give it a rub. So there's our box bottom. You see how quickly that came together. So this is a 2x2 box. It's not super big, but you could put a roll of baker's twine in there. You could put a couple of sponge daubers in there. Candies, obviously everybody loves candies. So that's our bottom. So now we need to make our top. So again, we need our top to be 2 by 2, but we don't need it to be as tall. So this is only going to be a 4 by 4 piece of cardstock, and we're going to score all the way around at 1 inch. So again, using our light gray scoring blade, we're going to go around at 1 inch. So we're just repeating the same process on a slightly smaller scale. Put those to the sides. We're going to pull in our snips once again. And we're going to just cut up to that center score line. Rotate 180, repeat the process. And then fold along your score lines all the way around. Still with me? So there's our pieces. So this is where it's going to become important for you to do that trim, because when we're assembling our top, we actually don't want to assemble the tabs tight to the inside, or it's going to make the lid too hard to come off. So again, just take your paper snips, give it a trim. And then same on the opposite side. And you can trim off as little or as much as you want. Sort of trial by fire. So there we have our trimmed edges. So now when I assemble, if I have it peeking out just a little bit, I don't know if you can see that because it's black. So you can see I don't have it tight. That would be tight. So I have it out probably about 1/8 of an inch. Can you see that? But it's not causing the paper to stick out along the side there. So we're gonna use our, oops, wrong adhesive. Let's go with the Seal Plus. So again, leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap there. We're going to repeat over here. Oops. And then on the opposite side, do the same thing, minus the dog hair, hopefully. And our last one. All right. So there is our box top. So this is going to fit perfectly on those. Allison, they are our paper snips. And honestly, I've never had to sharpen them, but a good trick or tip that I can share with you is if you need to sharpen your scissors or your punches, is actually get some aluminum foil, just your kitchen grade aluminum foil, and either punch or cut the aluminum foil, and it will actually sharpen your snips. But I have had these for 5 years, I want to say, and I have not had to sharpen them. They are fantastic. I only use them for crafting. I don't use them for anything else, but they are my go-to scissors. I actually now have 2 pairs because I love them so much, and I will slowly be replacing all my class snips with them because they're just so amazing. So here is our little box, and of course we need to decorate. So I have pulled out some retired DSP. This is actually some old Christmas paper, but it was real red, and that's what I wanted to coordinate with our card. So what I'm going to do, these pieces measure 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. So we're just going to attach them to our box. And I think I like the stripes horizontal, so I'm just going to use Seal. Hi, Kaya. Apparently my daughter's creeping us. She's watching me craft. she's got some friends over and they want to come down to the basement, which is where my stamp room is. So I suspect she's checking to see if I'm close to being done. So again, 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. So it's just slightly smaller than the size of the box. We're just gonna put those on there. So there's our 4 sides. And then 1 for the top. And I wasn't thinking about the sides of the box top, so I will cut some DSP and we will put that on there as well. Or you could leave it black, whichever you prefer. Come on. Apparently I didn't stick my tabs well enough when they're getting caught. There we go. So there's our box. And then you would just decorate your box any way you want it, whether you put a tag on it, you could put a label on the lid just attached at the top so that it hangs down over the box side. They're super fun, super versatile. You can do so many things with them, and you can get them to coordinate. I mean, how easy would it be to do? Watch this. Ooh, I just had a creative thought here. Let's pull out our anchor. Cut it out. I'm going to cut it out real quick. So there's our little anchor. We grab some baker's twine. Tied in a quick overhand knot. While I'm holding that, we're going to tuck our little anchor on there. We need an extra set of hands, I think. Throw our tab through there. Super cute. Trim our snips. There we go. And there's a cute little box. Coordinates with our card. I mean, who wouldn't love to receive some little goodies in a box like that? So awesome. Not that I'm biased or anything. So thank you for sticking with me if you're still here. Just a reminder, there's still time to share the video. I will do a drawing on my video next week for the winner. My card club this month for July is featuring this stamp set, and this is actually a sneak peek of one of the cards. So if you are new to card club, it is a monthly meeting virtually for this particular time. Once we're up in person, it will be a hybrid. There will be an in-person component, but also virtual for those of you that can't come out to my stamp studio. You will receive supplies to create 6 cards, so 3 different designs, 2 cards of each design. It comes with all the envelopes, all the supplies you need. So just, actually I think I have. So this is some kits going out actually. So it all comes bundled up. You can see that I've got a base, I've got elements of die cuts and ribbons, There's DSP if it's needed. Anything that you need is included in the kit. You also get some goodies from me as a thank you that you may or may not require to complete your projects. You get a video tutorial on how to assemble, so you can go back and re-watch and watch as many times as you need, as well as a PDF tutorial with step-by-step instructions. So it's a great way to get your craft on without having to do all the design work and the prep. I do all of the heavy lifting for you, so to speak. So again, that's featuring Sailing Home. You can register on my website at www.inkspireme.com/card-club, and registration needs to take place before the 7th of July in order to receive this month's package. There's only a couple days left of the January to June mini catalog. The 30th is the last day for that. Any retiring items our last chance, so you want to make sure that you are taking a peek at that catalog and placing an order. Any orders placed with me using the host code above my shoulder here before Friday are actually going to get supplies to make everything that we made tonight, minus the stamp set and adhesives, but you will get basically like a card club pack. You'll receive the cardstock, all of the layers, all the die cuts that you'll need, and then you would just stamp them with your own supplies at home. So that's if you place an order with me before Friday using this host code above my shoulder. And I think that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful night. I appreciate you all, and I hope you have an amazing week. Bye, everybody.